You know that feeling right before you send the message, or hand in the resignation letter, or walk into the room you've been avoiding for 3 weeks. That half second where your whole body says do it, and your mind says wait, not yet, not like this. That half second, right there, that's what we're talking about today. I used to think that feeling meant I wasn't ready. Turns out it means almost the opposite. And I want to spend the next 15 minutes or so showing you why. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So here's where we're starting this series, Not with the card everyone expects, not with death or the tower or anything dramatic like that. We are starting with the card that looks the simplest and is actually the hardest to understand. The Fool, card 0. Before the numbers even begin, and that's not an accident, by the way, that it's 0 and not 1. We'll come back to that. Hold on to it. Most people look at this card and see naivety. A guy walking off a cliff, small dog barking at his heels, not even looking where he's going. And on the surface, sure, I get why people read it that way. But Jung spent a huge chunk of his life studying something he called the Puer aeternus, the eternal child. And the Fool is basically that idea wearing a costume. So today I actually want to unpack what this archetype is doing in your life right now, because I promise you, it's a lot more active than you think it is. Let's start with the healthy version, because there is one, and it gets skipped constantly in every reading I've ever seen. The Fool at his best isn't reckless, right? He is uncommitted to an outcome. He hasn't decided yet what any of this is going to mean, so he can actually see what's in front of him instead of what he's scared it'll turn into. That's a specific kind of intelligence most adults lose completely somewhere along the way. Kids have this naturally. You put a 5-year-old in a brand new place and they're not calculating what could go wrong. They're just there, fully curious, unguarded. You watch a kid walk into a room and they're already touching things, already asking questions, already halfway into a conversation with a stranger's dog. There's no committee meeting happening in their head first. And somewhere between that and adulthood, we trade it for planning, for contingencies, for needing to know the ending before we are even willing to read the first page. Here's the thing nobody tells you though. That trade isn't wisdom, it's armor. And armor is heavy. You don't notice how heavy until you try to move quickly in it. Now, let's get into where this actually goes wrong, because this is the part that matters for you listening right now. Jung's Puer aeternus isn't just the innocent wanderer figure. It's a specific shadow pattern where someone stays perpetually on the edge of starting and calls it freedom. Calls it keeping their options open. Calls it not wanting to be tied down. But underneath, if you're honest with yourself for a second, there's usually something a lot simpler running the whole show. Fear of finding out you're not actually good enough once the training wheels come off. Because as long as you haven't really started, you haven't really failed yet, you're still potential. Still the person who could do anything. The second you commit, you become the person who did one specific thing. And that thing might not be impressive. I've watched this play out in myself with this exact channel, For a long time I told myself I was still researching, still preparing, still waiting for the right format to show up. And look, some of that was true, but some of it, if I'm being real with you, was me protecting an idea of myself as someone with unlimited potential. Because that felt a lot safer than being someone with one finished thing that might just get ignored. And a video with 11 views is a very specific kind of mirror. It doesn't lie to you gently. Now here's something I want to add to this, because it's the part that took me the longest to actually see clearly. Jung didn't just talk about the Puer, he also talked about its opposite, the Senex, the old man archetype. Rigid, overstructured, obsessed with doing things properly, correctly, in order. And you think these two are opposites, right? One's reckless, one's careful. But here's the twist. A lot of the time, in the same person, they're not opposites at all. They are partners. The Senex in you generates an impossibly high bar for what ready looks like. And the Puer in you agrees completely and just keeps circling, waiting to clear a bar that was never actually reachable. So you get to feel like you're being responsible and conscious while never actually landing anywhere. It's a very comfortable trap. That's what makes it dangerous. Let me give you an example that isn't me, because I don't want you thinking this is just a me problem. I've got a friend, and I won't use her name, but she's been wanting to leave her job for close to 2 years now. Every time we talk about it, there's a new condition. First it was, once I save 6 months of expenses. Fine, reasonable, she did that. Then it was, once I finish this certification. She did that too, actually. Took her almost a year. Then it became, once the market's a little more stable, and you can already feel it, right? The goalpost just keeps sliding. Not because she's lying to herself on purpose, because some part of her genuinely believes the next condition is the real one. That's the Puer and the Senex working together perfectly. One keeps generating the rule, the other keeps agreeing to wait for it. So if you're the kind of person who's been circling something for a while now, a project, a move, a conversation you know you need to have, I want you to actually notice what you're calling it. Are you calling it patience? Or is patience just the socially acceptable name fear uses once it's learned some manners? Because here's a distinction that actually matters, and I want you to sit with this one specifically, not the vague spiritual version of sitting with something. I mean, actually think about it for a second. Real readiness and this avoidance pattern can look completely identical from the outside. Someone waiting for genuinely the right conditions, and someone who will always find a reason it's not quite time yet. Both of them look careful. Both of them sound reasonable when they explain it to you. But one of them has an actual condition they're waiting on. One they could name out loud right now if you asked. The other one, if you push even a little, just generates a new condition on the spot, live, in the conversation. That's the tell. If the reasons multiply, the second one gets satisfied. It was never really about the reasons. Now, let's go back to that little white dog for a second, because almost nobody actually talks about this part, and it's one of my favorite details in the whole deck. The dog at the fool's heels isn't decoration. In a lot of readings, it represents instinct. The animal part of you that already knows what you're about to do is right, even while your thinking mind is still up there negotiating terms with itself. The dog isn't barking a warning at the cliff, you know? It's barking encouragement. It's already moving, your body already knows. It's your thinking mind that's stalling and dressing the stall up as caution so it feels acceptable. I want to be really clear about something though, because I don't want this episode to become just jump off cliffs, it'll be fine. That's not what this card is saying, and it's definitely not what I'm saying. The fool walking toward the edge isn't glamorizing blindness. It's showing you that the cliff was always going to be there, whether you looked at it or not. And you can spend your whole life pacing back and forth in front of it, or you can trust that the ground you can't see yet is still ground. That's not naivety. That's a specific kind of faith, and Jung actually respected this kind of faith a lot, because he saw it as necessary for anyone to change at all. You cannot think your way into becoming a different version of yourself. At some point, you have to act your way there before you feel ready, because the feeling of readiness almost always shows up after you already moved, not before. Okay, let's circle back to that 0 for a second, like I said we would. Every other card in the major arcana has a number, 1 through 21, and they build on each other in a sequence. Growth, structure, collapse, rebuilding. But the Fool is 0 before the sequence. And in a lot of number systems, 0 isn't nothing, it's unlimited potential, it's the space before form gets applied to anything. It's every possibility existing at once, none of them chosen yet, which is beautiful, and also, if you stay there too long, it's a trap disguised as a gift. Because unlimited potential feels incredible right up until you realize it can't actually do anything, until you pick one version of it and let the rest go. That's the part that stings a little, honestly, when you really let it land. Every time you choose to start something specific, you're closing every other door that existed the second before. And some part of you will grieve those doors, even the ones you never really wanted. That grief is normal. It doesn't mean you picked wrong. So here's what I actually want you to do with all this. Not homework, just something to try this week. Take the thing you've been circling, not planning around, circling. And instead of asking yourself, am I ready? Ask a completely different question. What is the smallest version of this I could start today? Not the whole leap. Just enough to know the dog was right. That's the fool. Not the beginning of foolishness, like the name makes you think. The beginning of everything else in this deck. Everything else in you. That can't happen until you're willing to not know how it ends. Next episode, we're moving to the Magician. And we're going to get into the difference between having potential and actually using it, which honestly might sting a little more than today did. If this is the thing you needed to hear today, tell me in the comments what you've been circling. I read every single one, actually. And if you want to go deeper on this, figure out specifically where you're stuck, I do one-on-one Jungian Tarot readings, links in the description below. Until next time, take care.